Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. You guys know what time it is. It's time to discuss current events in the lifting world. And notice it's going to be the lifting world. I don't care about YouTube fitness or the online community anymore. I don't watch YouTube fitness. I don't watch any YouTube fitness channels other than my own. And I only watch those as I'm making the videos. But this came up and it's Luke set out. I'm going to get his last name wrong. British bodybuilder, coach, age 30, has passed away. Now, I at first had said in my comments, I don't think I'm going to cover this. Right? I said I wasn't going to cover it. Now, people can say, well, you're lying because you're covering it now, and that's fine. I don't really care. Care what you think. I didn't intend to cover it when I said that, therefore it's not a lie. But I did change my mind, and I thought about it and said, this is something that we need to talk about. We need to have a talk about mental health. We need to talk about people taking care of themselves. We need to talk about when you have things going wrong in your life that it's important to reach out to somebody. It's important to reach out. And I think what I want to say there before we go further into this is to tell guys that, look, man, if you're struggling with your own struggles emotionally or whatever else, it's okay to reach up for a helping hand. It's okay to reach out. In fact, you should probably do that. But we don't actually know the cause of death. And I'm not going to pull one of these things. In the past, people have noted me just making the jokes at bodybuilders dropping like flies. I've realized I've reached a point in my life and introspection to where I realize that's not appropriate. Okay, whatever you think of a specific lifestyle, it doesn't mean that we should ever laugh or celebrate a tragic passing of somebody else. Okay? Especially not something like this. It's one thing if there's some horrible, evil person. This guy does not appear to be that. In fact, he seemed to have been well liked. I actually have a couple of people on my friends list who apparently knew him when I saw on my social media and Facebook and said actually he was always a nice guy, good guy. They liked him. He didn't seem to have any problems going on that they knew about. Okay, so this is someone who was generally well liked. He wasn't hated. Okay. This is someone who, had a lot going on in his life. He had people who cared about him, loved ones. At least he promoted lifting and training. Right? As I don't follow bodybuilding, I don't care about bodybuilding. But at least he was promoting training. Now, whatever else we could think of the hardcore bodybuilding world, if he at least motivated a few people to get into the gym and train, that's a positive impact on the world. We could argue this is a person who had a positive impact. Okay? It's not cool or funny or acceptable to make fun of the fact that the guy has passed, because I saw that in my comments. And again, there was a time in my life where I would have done that. I just don't feel it's appropriate. It's not appropriate. This is a tragedy. It's not funny. It's a tragedy. And we don't know the cause of death. I checked some of the different news stories before I decided to make this video, see what was going on this morning. At this point, even the news outlets are saying we don't actually know. No one knows why he died. There's rumors that it's suicide, which is why we need to talk about mental health. There are rumors that it was steroid overdose. Well, there's no such thing. I don't believe there's ever been a documented case of steroid overdose. The closest thing I think I've ever heard of, if you guys remember when Dallas McCarver passed, his toxicology, that's the highest testosterone levels I've ever heard of in a human being. And what do I mean the highest? Meaning I know guys who get blood work done who abuse absolutely ludicrous amounts of anabolics, who had half the testosterone levels that he had. Okay, half or less of what he had in his toxicology report. And I'm talking people who abuse frightening amounts. Okay, so people don't overdose on anabolics. There are potential long-term health consequences to the abuse, but it's also these whole cocktails of things they put into their body. It's not just the anabolics. I think the argument could be made that actually some of the ancillaries used to combat the side effects of anabolics are actually deadlier to your health than the anabolics are. And I think we can make a fair argument for that. But it is this whole combination, this whole cocktail of substances people put in their bodies, the extreme dieting combined with all of it. Okay, that could be a recipe for disaster. Plenty of guys survive it too. So to pass at age 30, very, very rare. Even among heavy abusers of these substances, that's extremely rare. It's extremely rare. I mean, we get Rich Piana. He was in his 40s abusing insane amounts of stuff with street drugs and opiates and things. Okay, and that is a known fact. He abused OxyContin and stuff with the anabolics and was in his 40s. Okay, that one makes a little more sense. But at 30, it's possible. It could have been something related to that, some sort of serious heart defect or something happened with his electrolyte balance and everything he's putting. It could have been, but it could also be the mental health aspect. And again, that's something we have to talk about right now. We're seeing an enormous amount of depression among gym goers. We don't know. Maybe his coaching business had floundered, right? Maybe his businesses were going under, all right? There have already been documented cases here in the U.S. just because of the economic situation as it stands in the world. Suicides are on the rise. I have friends who are in law enforcement, and the call outs and stuff that they're getting for things like that are very, very high right now. They're very high. People are depressed. People who are used to training all the time who don't have normal gym access are struggling with depression. People who are dealing with economic aspects of this crisis are struggling with depression, anxiety, worry. Okay? But you're not in it alone. You're not in it alone, guys. And here's what I would say with some of that. Sometimes you have to step back and say, okay, this will pass. This will pass. But, when we're dealing with possible substance abuse issues combined with this, combined with the depression of not being able to train, because for a lot of people, training is therapeutic. It's their therapy, and not being able to get under that barbell, okay, can be a real problem. And I've had clients with this situation these days. It's a major problem. It's part of their therapy. And mental health declines rapidly when your therapy is removed, particularly when it's something like physical exercise, okay, which has its own ability to fight anxiety and depression. Okay, when that gets removed, we have problems. Throw an economic crisis. Throw in people using various amounts of substances that can affect mood and personality. All right, these things happen, and that very well could be what happened. And here's what I would say to a lot of you out there. Remember, if you're going through this stuff, it's going to pass. It's going to pass. Things are going to get better. But if you need help, reach out. There are, whatever countries you're in, there's help out there. There are suicide hotlines, there's depression hotlines, there are groups, forums. Talk to somebody, okay? Talk to somebody. Best thing you could do. I have been there before. I'll be the first to admit, and people know that who know my past enough know that I struggled with my own debilitating depression earlier in life, and it's severely debilitating. And it's very, very, very hard to pull yourself out of that dark hole. Once you're there and it feels like it's hopeless, and we do feel that way. We feel hopeless when we're in those situations. But it's not hopeless, guys. It's not hopeless. You have to get up and fight. And sometimes getting up and fighting doesn't even just mean internally. It means sometimes we have to reach outside of ourselves to get a little bit of a helping hand. Talk to somebody. Right? Talk to somebody else about it. Don't just keep it all bottled up inside. Find somebody to talk to, professional support group. Even just a loved one who could give you an objective perspective or maybe help you find someone to talk to. Right? Because this might have been that. And there's a very good chance, we don't know for sure, but that is definitely one of the leading circulating rumor is that he did take his own life. And if that's the case, that's extremely tragic. It's extremely tragic. I have personally been to a funeral of a suicide, and it's horrific. Like it's one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in my entire life. That funeral. And I don't want to get into the details, but it was bad. Like the amount of pain and suffering that act caused beyond that person beyond that person was horrific. So, I mean, that's a terrible thing. I've seen this firsthand, and it's horrific what happens. It's terrible. So I hope that's not the case. But again, if it was, here's our reminder. Even strong people need help sometimes. And you don't always know who's depressed. This is a good time right now. Here's a bit of advice. We don't know who's depressed. People hide it pretty well sometimes. A lot of people are going through stuff. Check in on your loved ones. Check in on your friends. Check in on your family. Reach out. Ask them how they're doing. Okay? Ask them how they're doing. Because maybe, in his case, we don't know that that's what happened. Had someone said, I don't know, he seems okay, but maybe I should check. Let me see what's going on. Make sure everything's okay with him. Maybe his business is doing bad. Maybe he's just come off of something he's been on and it's messing with his head. You don't know. Reach out and ask, because people are going through a lot right now. And people need that support network of loved ones right now more than ever. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.